I'm Emily Nemens, the editor of the Paris Review, greeting you once again from my apartment in now snowy New York City. Welcome to our winter issue launch. I hope you are safe and healthy, warm and dry wherever you are watching. A few housekeeping details. To keep things running on the clock, whichever time zone you're in, we will suspend the audience comments, but you should keep an eye on the chat, as my colleague Julia will be sharing links to the readings and further information about contributors throughout the program. While I'm mentioning colleagues, thank you to Craig for manning the control panel this evening, and to Vijay, Lauren, Hassan, Charlotte and Claire, Carlos and Lenga for their help on the issue. We share a new print issue every quarter, but we have new content online and on social every day. Nadja, Brian, and Ryan, thank you. Speaking of colleagues, I want to take just one moment for a bit of end-of-year gratitude. I've not name-checked Lori, Robin, or Jane just yet, but I'm thinking of them too. My colleagues have encountered new challenges pretty much daily, and they still edit, publish, promote, and support great writing with equal parts grace and aplomb. My thanks to all of them and to our board of directors, a tireless group, for their ingenuity and dedication to literature. And of course, my profound thanks are also due to all the writers we've worked with this year for the literature in the first place. This hasn't been an easy time to be creative, but they certainly are, and brilliantly so. I think D.H. Tracy wrote for many stripes of artists and many stripes of human in the opening lines of his poem, The New Normal, which is in the current issue. The poem opens, "It is desirable that as little happen as possible. An aristocrat said that knowing, I hope, it was hopeless. Inevitably, sporadically, like clockwork unlike clockwork, something goes thunk into the pond of you and the normal expires." I think it's safe to say that the normal has expired for all of us this year, but I am grateful for the writing that came anyway, or because of all the thunks in the pond. Thank you. Okay, now we are on with the show. This launch will be a little bit different than our last, in which we did around the issue in 60 minutes. Now, don't get me wrong, I am delighted about the prose in the issue, which includes new work by Melissa Phoebos, Dantel Moniz, and Jack Livings, and the poetry, which includes Rita Dove and Sarah Akant. And I could go on about Edward Hirsch's generous, thoughtful interview, or the fabulous photos of Erin O'Keefe, photos that play with depth and dimension, not unlike a brilliantly constructed stage set. But tonight we thought we'd feature one special aspect of this very special issue, the theater. We're going to watch a table read of the first line of Dante's Inferno, a new play by Kirk Lynn. It'll be read by Ramos, Ramiz Monsef, and Kellie Overbey, with the help of director Christian Parker, who is watching somewhere out there. Our actors have impressive bios, but I'll just pluck a bit out of each one. Cha is a multidisciplinary theater artist devoted to telling underrepresented stories and is currently pursuing her MFA in dramaturgy at Columbia. Ramiz wears many hats, including occasionally that of my beloved Tacoma Rainiers. He's a TV, film, and theater actor and a writer. While he's based in LA, he has come out east for shows at Second Stage, New York Theater Workshop, and Yale Rep. Kellie Overbey has impressive credits on Broadway and off, and a pair of Drama Desk nominations. Offstage, she is the executive director of A is For Org, a group of artists dedicated to advancing reproductive rights, and a founding member of fairwageonstage.org. Which brings us to Kirk. Kirk provided us with a bio that reads, Kirk lives in Austin, Texas with his funny wife and terrible children. He teaches at the University of Texas at Austin. He is one of 5 co-producing artistic directors at the theater collective Rude Mex, all of which is true, but something of an understatement. Kirk is also a novelist. Rules for Werewolves was published by Melville House in 2015, and he's spending his pandemic sabbatical semester teaching one of those children how to read, one of those terrible, lovable, amazing kids how to read. In 2019, his play, The Cold Record, was featured at the Under the Radar Festival at the Public here in New York, and then toured the world back when world tours were a thing. I want to call Kirk up on screen for just a minute so I can say thank you in person for sharing this great piece with the Parish Review's readers. And while I can't wait to hear it tonight, I will also emphasize reading this play to build off of what Brandon was saying just a minute ago. I'd encourage everyone to pick up the issue, if only to see how Kirk plays with form here. I don't know if you can see it on my webcam. It looks like prose. The format is strange and smart and kind of an affront to play form, and it absolutely works. Anyway, I'd like to give Kirk just a minute to speak for himself and for the play and set up this performance we're about to listen to. Thank you, Kirk, and take it away.
Hey, howdy. Thanks so much to Emily and the Paris Review and to Brandon Jacob Jenkins. The play we're going to hear tonight is in a lot of ways, I hope reaches people that are stuck in their houses and longing for the natural world. It's a play about longing, and specifically about, I think too often the theater doesn't deal enough with the natural world. And so this play is about a woman who goes into the forest looking for her sister, but in fact finds something else, which you'll see. And the other thing in this time when we have too little sort of, at the very least, sort of hugging and hand-holding, this play is about also sexual longing and what it means to, if anybody can remember when people could meet one another and hold one another. And so I hope it addresses both of those things. The last thing I'll say is just a great thank you to the cast for all of their work. And there's so many people in theater, there's all this sort of labor and love that goes into supporting a work. And so this play was supported in a lot of steps by Playwrights Horizons and by the Kenyan Playwrights Conference. And so thanks to all those folks for carrying us along the way. So now I think without further ado, we'll hear a reading of the first line of Dante's Inferno.
An excerpt from the first line of Dante's Inferno by Kirk Lynn. Characters: Anne Espinosa, early 40s, tall, self-possessed, hiking in the woods in search of her missing sister. Craig Gordon, a young park ranger, late 20s, pretty, slim, strong. Note: the play is formatted like prose. However, it is intended for performance. If actors simply perform the dialogue in quotes, the audience need never know about the world-building stage directions presented elsewhere in the text. And as has been the case in readings and developmental workshops, it is possible that some of this world-building text can enhance productions when performed by an unnamed voice or presence. Most important is that the natural world and our longing for it are portrayed in the theater. Chapter 1. As I remember, there were trees everywhere, thick, so they made the day dark with shadows. No such thing as an unobstructed view. You don't like it? I don't care. Find yourself another forest. Birch trees, rich black dirt underneath. Randomly set in these woods was a very small one-room cabin. What else would you call it? A handmade shelter? The walls were stolen plywood. The window was borrowed from a bigger building. It was all put together with duct tape and weird hinges. If you walked up to the window, here's what you would see inside. A little propane camp stove, a sleeping bag on a cot, and a big mason jar, lid on. The woods were a national park. It was a squatter's cabin. It was illegal. The cabin was nowhere near a path or a stream. It wasn't even near a game trail. The cabin was sort of trapped by the trees surrounding it. It was as if the trees had captured the cabin in a more reasonable spot and dragged it out to the woods where they could hide it and keep it forever. Dawn there lasted 24 minutes, starting from the Eigengrau, which is what you call the gray your mind sees in complete darkness, to the moment you would notice someone walking through the woods. And one day, a woman stepped out of the trees. She was 40-ish years old. The woman was tall. When she hiked, she took those long, slow steps. She wasn't going anywhere, so she didn't have to make any noise. Anne Espinosa. She was camping clean. You wouldn't want to stand next to her in an elevator, but if you were in the woods with her for as many days as she'd been in the woods, you would consider her clean, compared to you, no matter who you are. The cabin wasn't any bigger than an elevator. There wasn't a real elevator anywhere near the spot. Was it possible the cabin was located in the geographically most distant spot from any elevator in North America? Was it possible the cabin might suddenly drop through the ground and carry a person into the center of the earth? That was Anne's fear as she approached the cabin. Anne was careful not to fall because she was carrying a heavy backpack, heavy enough to suggest she wanted to be out in the woods for a long time, heavy enough to suggest this was her first time in the deep woods. The woman looked at the cabin. She knocked on one of the walls. She called out,
"Carol? Carol? Open up!"
The woman waited for an answer, but she knew. There was no one in the cabin. The woman walked a full circle around the shack. She shined her flashlight in the window. She took off her backpack. Then she took the back end of the flashlight and busted in a window pane. She reached in and unlocked the window, opened it, and started climbing into the cabin. She got stuck for a while, about halfway. She didn't struggle. She just stalled for a moment with her legs hanging out the window before she tipped the rest of the way in. The woman unstrapped the homemade lock on the front door from the inside and went out to get her backpack, came back into the cabin and looked around. She looked in the sleeping bag and in the metal stove case. She found a book inside the sleeping bag. She found a hammer and a can of nails by the stove. The woman went outside. She closed the window she had opened up the book, and nailed it over the broken window pane. The woman tore some pages from the helplessly pinned book and went back into the cabin and used the paper to start a fire in the camp stove. The propane was long gone, but there were some little branches around. The woman went outside and said to the trees,
"Attention, all wolves and snakes, bears and mountain lions. I can feel you out there following me. I'm not hunting you. I'm hunting one of my own kind. I am looking for my sister. I want you to know this is now my cabin, and I will not tolerate any bother."
She smiled. She was enjoying herself.
"I have a hammer, and it looks like she left me a jar of moonshine in there and a book of matches. So I'm going to keep a cup of moonshine by the door. And if any of you try to come in, I'm going to throw the moonshine on your face and light your face on fire. And then I'm going to beat you to death with a hammer while you burn. I am not here to live in harmony with you or whatever. I don't know how to live in harmony with you, but I do know how to make trouble. Consider yourselves warned. This is my cabin now."
Then the woman went back into the cabin and latched the door. She climbed into the sleeping bag and slept through the day. Chapter 2. As I remember, there was a sound in the middle of the night. It seemed to come from the sky, as if the invisible cable connecting the moon to the earth suddenly snapped. It woke the woman.
Hello?
I didn't answer.
Hello? Fuck, this is stupid.
The woman felt around the cabin until she found her flashlight. The woman shined the light out the window. The woman opened the door and shined her flashlight out on the trees. The woman picked up the hammer. The woman slumped down and leaned her back against the door frame. The woman's flashlight slowly died in her hands.
Hello?
Chapter 3. As I remember, it was bright day all of a sudden, and the woman was up, opening her backpack and searching around. What she was looking for wasn't there. She started looking through the cabin frantically. She couldn't find what she was looking for. She finally took the tin can of nails and poured them out onto the floor of the cabin. The woman pulled down her pants, squatted over the can, and pissed. She pulled up her pants. She went to her backpack and took out a bottle of water and drank it all. Then found a piece of jerky and took a bite. Pissing in a can out here was stupid, she realized. She opened the door to throw the piss out, can and all. But then she saw something. The woman walked out of the open door very slowly and said,
Hey, Bunny. Hey, Bunny. You want some jerky? It's all right. I'll just leave a little here, and you can come and get it after I go back inside.
The woman went back inside and watched through the open door.
I need a friend. I wish you would eat my jerky this morning, and then tomorrow again, and then again, until you trust me. Don't run away. It's good jerky.
After watching a bit, enough was enough. That rabbit wasn't going to be her friend. She started unpacking and setting up her house inside the cabin. Chapter 4. As I remember, the woman was whistling as she stood in the doorway of the cabin. Not a care in the world. And off in the trees, his hand on his gun, there was a young park ranger, Craig Gordon. His uniform was fresh. He hadn't worked much in it today. And like so many young men with guns, he was the one who was nervous. The woman wasn't scared at all when she noticed him. She asked,
You think she's coming back?
I don't know.
The ranger answered, moving a few steps. He wanted to be in a better position for the conversation.
But you can't stay here. It's federal land.
Are you the one who scared her off?
Nope. She was long gone before I ever knew she built this cabin. If she even built it. Or maybe she found it. It doesn't matter. It's illegal. Now I'm going to tear it down.
When the ranger looked off in the other direction, the woman picked up her hammer and ran at him. It took them both a second to realize it was an attack. The ranger fought the woman off without drawing his gun, screaming,
You're under arrest! You're under arrest!
The woman stopped, attacking, and said, panting,
Leave me alone.
Fuck you.
You have that authority?
I can.
said the ranger, assuming the woman was asking about his right to arrest trespassers and not his right to fuck her.
You're under arrest.
Well, then I guess you got me. It's like a magic spell, isn't it? If a cop says you're under arrest, then you are.
You don't have to be.
Said the ranger, calming down.
Don't fucking attack me.
What are you going to do with my sister when you catch her?
Nothing. I'll send her home.
Let me see your badge.
You're the sister?
You know her name.
Carol. Yeah, I know it.
was in the papers.
Yeah, I got them all because it's my forest. So I clip them. I'm going to make a book of it.
How many stories have there been?
How long since you read a paper?
I know the Pats lost to the Steelers.
No. All right. Well, that was 3 weeks ago.
And how are they doing now?
I don't want to be the one to have to tell you.
That bad?
Yeah. Tom Brady just up and disappeared. Abandoned his team mid-season. No foul play. 1 minute he was throwing passes, and then the next minute he sets the ball down on the 24-yard line, the Buffalo 24-yard line, and he walks off the field. People have seen him in this very park, walking right through campsites, walking into the woods. No foul play. They say his sister's trying to get him to come back. But he just doesn't love the game anymore, I guess.
I'm not going to find her, am I?
The answer was no, but it seemed rude. So the ranger repeated,
You can't stay here.
You're going to tear down the cabin?
It doesn't belong here.
Neither do you.
She stole plywood. She stole the window, too.
She's in the middle of a forest.
the woman said, meaning, where would she find stuff like that? But the ranger understood her to mean, there's no laws out here. So he said,
It's still stealing. The woods don't get free if you're close enough to the trees.
You're an idiot. I ought to arrest you for trespassing on intellectual grounds.
The ranger knew his understanding had been stupid. It's a funny feeling to be embarrassed in front of your prisoner by your own reasoning. So instead of continuing that train of logic, he switched to one of his competencies. He told the woman how he had come to find her.
Tracked you from the west entrance.
You're good at nature. Great.
Then the woman realized he could help her figure out if Carol was alive. She asked the ranger,
Tell me what you would do if you wanted to survive out here.
Pointing at the campsite, the ranger said,
I'll build myself a cabin, shelter, food.
What about other people?
I don't know that you need it.
Is there a danger of them out here?
No, not much, besides me.
I'm going to stay.
I'm tearing the cabin down.
No one will know.
I know.
You can come out once or twice a season.
the woman offered.
Bring me food. Get your dick sucked.
The ranger was caught off guard by that, so he told the truth.
Your sister's probably dead.
Your uniform is stupid.
The woman countered.
It'll start getting cold this month.
The ranger said,
This is the last month for hiking.
Great. Maybe she'll come back to the cabin.
Then there was a noise in the woods, and both of them turned to look. A big flush of birds, and the light skipped. Chapter 5. As I remember it, the ranger and the woman were now both sitting down. The woman was leaning against the cabin, and the ranger was squatting nearby.
I was a school teacher.
I own a coffee shop.
Who's watching it?
Doesn't do anything, trust me. I thought it would be like a watering hole for smart new kinds of people, but nope. I made the sign say closed and came looking for Carol. That's it.
You like peaches?
The ranger asked, remembering the huge misshipment of peaches they had at headquarters.
No? I don't know. Why? I don't care about peaches either way.
Well, I have a bunch of canned peaches I can't eat.
She has kids. They'd fucking love a treasure of canned peaches.
I know. I've been reading all the stuff about her in the news. Probably know more about her than you do from a certain point of view. That's how I knew you were the sister. They know you're looking. How long have you been looking?
She didn't say a word to her family. Didn't leave a note.
The woman said, before spitting into the dirt to clear her mouth. The ranger could understand things a little from Carol's point of view. How do you explain to your family that you're done with them? It's easier just to show them.
What are you going to say?
The ranger offered as an explanation.
Got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Uh, I taught older kids.
The ranger said.
High school. I always thought my students were going to kill me.
And now?
And they lacked the kind of commitment it would take to find me out here.
You ought to get going.
She's not coming back.
Not with you standing there.
I thought you were going to give me a blowjob.
Can you accept gifts from campers?
Agreeing with the woman that it might not be a good idea, the ranger said,
Yeah, I could lose my job. I don't want to go back to teaching school.
Because then wherever would you find someone to give you a blowjob?
The woman asked sarcastically.
Never mind.
The ranger said, defeated. He was cut up a little on his left forearm. It made it seem to the woman like he must do real work from time to time. He had a bushy head of hair that accentuated his boyish looks. His ranger uniform was a little too small for him. Again, this accentuated his appearance of being a growing boy. The woman felt like it would be easy to make him cry. If she just bullied him by one sentence too many, he would cry. Besides, trading a blowjob for peaches wasn't the most unfair deal ever struck on this continent.
You'll let me stay?
The woman asked to make the terms clear.
Not indefinitely, but...
All right. Come here. Let's get it over with.
I don't want it if you don't want to.
Well, you're going to have to get over that.
Forget it. I got one in my bag. One can.
The ranger said, taking off his backpack, fishing out a can of peach slices and putting his backpack on quickly, as if he didn't want anything from her.
I'll bring you a whole stack of cans in a week.
Seriously?
The woman said, willing to fulfill her promise and incredulous this asshole was going to pass it up.
You can't be serious.
Serious as a snake bite.
I'm not going to beg you.
Fine.
The ranger said, taking his backpack off without a smile, looking at his shadow on the wall of the cabin. Chapter 6. As I remember, the ranger's shirt was unbuttoned, and the woman kept checking her hair, which was a little mussed.
Leave me alone for a while.
The woman said, gently.
How long?
The woman was suddenly sharp with him.
Fuck off. Don't make me say an amount of time. Surprise me. Come back tomorrow or 7 weeks. You decide.
You got a mean streak.
You got a dumb streak.
7 brownish-gray geese silently flew over. Their shadows attracted the woman's gaze. The ranger could identify the species and get pretty close to an accurate count without looking up. He knew there wasn't a lot of point to looking up. Those geese get in one of those high jet streams and just cruise by. Winter was coming. The ranger watched the woman look for the geese and then bring her eyes back down to him. Fuck her. He didn't need to let himself get treated this way.
All right.
The ranger said, looking off into the woods.
I'll wish you good luck and take off.
Chapter 7. As I remember it, his shirt was still unbuttoned. The woman spit into her hand and rubbed some dirt off her arm.
So what are you going to do?
Use the cabin as a home base and I guess go out and find her. Or some clues.
The woman said, looking off into the trees.
Did you ever find anything?
Oh, I found some books in the middle of nowhere, like in a clearing, kind of stacked weird. I don't know if they were hers.
How else is a book going to get into the middle of the woods?
Books can walk.
The ranger said, not smiling at all.
What books?
A book on pigeons and a copy of Dante's Inferno.
That wasn't her.
The woman said, and repeated the action of spitting into her hand and rubbing some dirt off her arm.
The pages were interwoven, so the two books were like holding hands. I don't talk to a lot of people, or at all. So my thoughts and my words aren't always in conversation. You know the way fingers interlace?
The ranger held hands with himself as an example for a moment.
Maybe it is hers. What kind of book about pigeons?
Facts about the pictures of the kinds.
Are there lots of kinds of pigeons?
Used to be.
The woman looked at the ranger, who she was starting to think of as her ranger. She said,
You should get a haircut.
You should take a bath.
The creek's too cold.
I could help you.
You should be more forceful. I say the creek's too cold. You should say, I will help you.
What does that mean? Help you take a bath?
You said it.
We don't have to be meant for each other.
The woman stopped and looked at him seriously.
I'm not saying we do.
Yeah, that's the most enjoyable part of sex with a stranger.
The ranger said.
You're too bossy and dirty. You don't even like me.
You should stop cracking your knuckles.
You should stop sharing your opinions so freely.
You should keep your shirt unbuttoned. Looks nice.
You should wear your hair down.
You should smile more. Laugh more.
Laughing doesn't have any special function. I'm not going to give any special effort.
Everybody likes laughing.
The woman said, matter-of-factly.
Yeah, every woman I ever met says she liked who she liked because he made her laugh. That's the number one thing. Every woman ever. At least enough so that I honestly think there's something broken about women, that they need someone else to make them laugh.
The woman was quiet for a second, going about her business. Then she asked,
Can you get us some dope?
Weed?
Marijuana?
Great, sure. There's a whole field of it about half a mile over there.
Grows wild?
Well, I didn't say that, but it's all over. I think they plant it and forget it. Plant so much in case some get busted, they forget all of them. They forgot this one.
I'm going to kill a rabbit.
the woman said.
And you get some weed. And let's have a proper date.
And we should dry it out first.
How long does that take? 2 weeks?
2 or 3 weeks.
Stay away 2 or 3 weeks. And then when it's ready, when it's all dried out, you come strolling up here with a big joint and your shirt unbuttoned and do something with your hair. And I'll kill a rabbit.
And I'll go into town and get somebody to tell me the stupidest joke there is. Just knock you over, it's so stupid. Leave you panting on the ground.
The woman let her hair down and said,
It's a date then.
The ranger laughed. Natural. Then noticed he was doing it and blushed. There was something wrong with men too, of course. With him more than most. He felt as he saluted the woman like an idiot and walked off into the woods as the night came up. Chapter 8. You ever read that poem by Yeats about the Isle of Innisfree? I can only remember this and that of it. I once sat in a lecture hall and Robert Bly was there wearing a fucking purple cravat. It was a Galway Canal reading. Galway Canal was reading his own poetry. And out of nowhere, Robert Bly asked him from the audience to recite Innisfree, this poem I'm talking about. And Galway Canal obliged him. And I remember thinking how badass that was. If someone asks you to recite some poem and you just know it cold, that's badass, in my opinion. And it was also badass because Bly and Cannell were friends, which, who cares? But my point is, this poetry reading was a big deal for us in the audience. But for these guys, they were just there. They could have started talking about baseball or the weather. Poetry was something they did, like mechanics working on cars. But while they work, they talk about whatever. The mechanics talk about other cars and it doesn't confuse them or make them jealous. And also, it was like there was this lineage that connected Cannell to Bly to Yeats. So I was happy to be there. The poem essentially tells the story of a guy who wants to drop everything and go live on an island he remembers from childhood. He wants to live in a cabin and grow food and eat honey, but he lives in the city and it's all around him, the cars and everything. And living on this island is just a dream. Maybe the island doesn't even exist anymore. But I think I remember this one line, that there on the island, peace comes dropping slow. That's what it was like for the woman. She settled into things, settled into living alone. She got used to the cabin. She got used to the cold, which was growing stronger every night. She got used to the privacy. You name it, farting, shitting, masturbating. She thought no one was watching. Her sense of herself evaporated at times. She only occasionally remembered her full life. She did lose herself in reveries of her sister. She called out randomly. If she thought she heard anything, she called out. Not in a panic or desperation. It was almost as if she were developing an ability to talk directly to her memories, to take part in them rather than just to have them. There was a peace developing in her slowly. I never answered when she called out. It would have destroyed the peace she was learning. Chapter 9. As I remember, it was the middle of the night. The woman was sitting up in bed, staring at the walls. She was listening to the crickets, the sound of the moon and the dark blue silhouettes it made of everything, the sound of the word silhouette in her mind. She could feel the word on her tongue without speaking it. She also knew she could never spell the word silhouette in a million years without a computer with built-in autocorrect. She thought it might be better to live that way. This way. Maybe she would never have to try to spell the word silhouette again. She could just listen to the shadows, practically taste them. Then it got quiet. The woman said,
I can hear you. When you get close, all the crickets shut up for a second. You might as well come in. I don't care. Hello? Hello? Now I'm getting creeped out. Don't just sit there. Carol? Fuck. I have moonshine and peaches. I'm going to set them outside the door, and if it's you, wait till you hear me start snoring and then come and eat them.
Chapter 10. As I remember, the woman came out of the cabin in the morning. Outside, she found the cup of moonshine overturned, empty. She smelled it. She pressed her fingers into the ground around the cup and smelled them. She picked up a peach slice off the ground, sucked the dirt off of it, spit the dirt out, and then she ate the peach. She picked up another peach slice, sucked the dirt off of it, spit the dirt out. But this peach slice, instead of eating, she rubbed on her neck. She wet it again in her mouth and took off her shirt and rubbed the peach slice under her arms. She threw that peach slice away, then picked up another peach slice and sucked the dirt off of it and spit the dirt out. And then she reached down into her pants and rubbed the peach around her thighs and her pussy.
That's not why I gave you peaches, but okay. Looks like you're going feral.
The ranger said. He was off to the side, in the trees, watching. He scared the shit out of the woman.
You ruined your surprise,
the woman said, trying to keep her cool. She took her hand out of her pants and dangled the peach in the air for a second, like a little fish, and then ate it.
I was testing it out for you, making you a surprise.
I'm surprised, all right.
I think the rabbits like the moonshine.
It's possible. I've heard they like apple cider.
I was leaving peaches and moonshine out for her, and the rabbits got it.
Carol.
Yeah.
I know her name.
I know.
If she's been watching the cabin, then she knows it's you. Does she like you? Why wouldn't she say hi, or even if she wants you to leave, come out and say, hi, now leave?
I'm so fucking crazy. I have no idea if she ever liked me at all.
Huh.
She loves me, but that's a different question than like. I think she does.
The ranger got still for a second.
Listen.
Last night, I thought it was you.
I'll sit guard tonight.
The ranger stated in total sincerity.
You won't know I'm there, but I'll be there, watching.
Wow, you're just naturally creepy.
Hmm.
No, I like it. Don't get your feelings hurt. Everything wild is. But don't do it. It won't work. If you sit out there to watch and see if she comes to sit out there and watch too, she'll know you were there and stay away.
All judgment says she's long gone. Long gone.
Besides the books, what else have you seen or heard?
Well, besides you, there's really not a lot of clues with direct connection to your sister.
There's the cabin.
The woman said, stating the obvious.
Anybody could have built it. The people who planted the dope.
She was headed this way.
I don't know. Before you, I wanted to be the one to catch her. I knew she was out here. Papers said she was out here. I wanted to be the one. Once you want something, the clues are everywhere you're going to get it. I saw clues every 20 minutes. So I don't know how to answer your question. Maybe.
I could be her.
You're you.
The ranger said, not following.
I mean, you catch her and she says she's not her. She says she's her sister to confuse you. She says she's out looking for Carol, same as you, and you don't know. So you let her go, and she slips through your grasp like that.
But I got you. You're under arrest. You know that.
For days now. It's not as bad as I thought. If people knew how easy it was to put up with being under arrest, there would be a lot more crime. Tons of it.
I would know if you were her.
You never would. Ever.
For one, you're not that smart. You think you are.
The woman went back into the cabin and came out with her backpack and her boots, which she set on the ground.
I'm going to go out looking for her. But this is still my camp. Don't tear it down.
You don't want to go out any further. You're not going to find another cabin. People always think the same luck they have is going to follow them like a shadow, but that's not how luck works.
She's not coming here. You said yourself.
You just said you heard her last night.
Swear it wasn't you.
chop down every tree in the forest if I'm lying. I was trying to leave you alone. My attention was kind of out in this direction, but my body was at the East Camp.
If you're going to go look for her, you'd be all right in the woods. So which direction would you go?
I don't know.
The ranger said, unwilling to answer.
I don't know.
Of all the fake evidence and bullshit you've convinced yourself you've seen, in which direction was most of it?
I'd probably go to Crane Hill.
The ranger said, giving in, giving the woman his best advice.
There's a spring there, and you can catch the cranes by hand. Just reach out and grab one by the leg, and you can just tear them open and eat fresh fish from the bellies. No one ever goes out there.
Well, then how would she know about it?
The ranger was more emotional at the idea of this woman going out into the woods than he expected. He lost his temper a little bit.
There's fucking little maps and flyers at the main office, and we hand them out to people, and people leave them lying around. We recommend it to campers. Or, I don't know.
Then the ranger started to calm down.
But no one ever takes the ranger's advice. You're not. Fuck me. Just the bits and pieces you want. It's hard to believe there's anyone in the world knows anything better than you. Don't go out there.
The woman put her hand on the ranger's shoulder.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I'm not saying you should go there. I would stay here and wait. Especially if you heard anything. But if you feel like you have to go, that's all I'm saying. If I had to go, but I would stay here.
I heard something. I thought it was you.
The woman kissed the ranger. He licked his lips. The morning was very still. A breeze finally blew a little. The ranger picked the woman up and carried her into the cabin. The forest was quiet while they made love, and the light moved through the morning. Chapter 11. As I remember, the woman started undressing the ranger. He tried to help, saying,
Here, let me.
The woman put her hand over the ranger's mouth. She made a gesture for him to be quiet or to be calm. She started to undress the ranger again. He tried to help again. The woman slapped his hand away. The only acceptable action for the ranger was to stand there while she undressed him, slowly, looking at his body, tasting it, running her fingers across him, just enjoying him. The woman thought she might take all day. The ranger thought she might take all day. The woman started singing Crazy Love by Van Morrison, very slowly, stopping whenever she wanted to kiss her ranger, then picking up the song right in the place where she left it. Then suddenly she stopped everything and listened.
What?
The woman put her hand on the ranger's mouth and listened. She was hearing something. Was someone else singing too? She listened. The ranger listened. The ranger turned his head a little, hearing something too. The woman tried to hear what she had heard again, and the ranger shook his head. He started to put his shirt back on, and the woman stopped him. She looked at his body. She took his shirt from him. She listened. Then she went back to undressing him. Chapter 12. As I remember, first thing in the morning, the ranger called out.
Hello? Where'd you go?
The ranger came out of the cabin, naked. He stretched. He looked around. He saw that the woman's backpack and all her belongings were gone.
Fuck.
The ranger called out again.
Anne? Anne? You gone?
He answered himself in a falsetto.
Yes, you dumb fuck.
He looked around, picked up a peach slice from the ground, and flung it into the trees.
You think I was gonna stay and fuck you forever? I fucked you to sleep, you dumb fuck, so I could sneak off. Fuck.
The ranger said in his own voice.
You mind if I eat the peaches you left? You didn't get enough last night? No, I did not. No, ma'am. No, I did not.
The ranger opened a can of peaches and ate them all ravenously. Started to drink the juice from the can. It ran down his face and neck. The ranger laughed.
No, I did not.
Then he jumped up and did a little dance. The dance involved playing with his penis, pointing it at the trees and the cabin, and touching himself. He aroused himself. A little. Enough. The ranger stopped dancing and stole a little time from the world to play with himself. A little. He stopped and looked around. He went back into the cabin and climbed into bed. End of excerpt.
Thank you for that great reading. That was beautiful. And it was fun to see and hear a bit more of the play than we were able to publish in the magazine. Thank you so much. Thanks as well to Christian for the guidance, and of course to Kirk. I want to thank all the contributing playwrights, Claudia Rankine and David Adjmi too, for sharing their work in the issue, and to Brandon again for helping us pick it. Please check out the new issue and keep celebrating theater in creative, safe ways until we can get back on stage and into the front row. Thank you again. All right, for all of those of you out there, thank you for joining us. I am moved that so many of you wanted to join us to celebrate literature, even if via webcam. I know we're all just about zoomed out these days, but I hope this hour of screen time was brighter than most. We are so glad to host this and other free events, and not just during quarantine, but long into the future. While pre-pandemic, we would deck the halls with boughs of holiday greenery. We can only hold so many coats on our rack, and weather like tonight's would have made it hard for even locals to attend. But online, we're able to host attendees from Romania and Redondo Beach, and no snow boots are required. We're committed to keeping events like this free, but producing them and producing the Parish Review is not. I know things that are tight for very many this year, but if you do have the ability, please consider donating to the Parish Review. We have exciting memberships that just launched this fall, and we continue to be grateful for gifts of any amount. To those of you who have already found ways to support the review, thank you. In closing, I'll send you off with the words of Sam Shepard from his 1997 Art of Theater interview. He says, "To me, there's something false about an ending. Because of the nature of the play, you have to end it. People have to go home." Well, folks, we have to end it too. I suppose the good news is that most of us are already safe at home. So I'll leave you with well wishes. Please stay safe, have a happy holiday, and see you in the new year. Thank you.